guys ready? All right. Good morning. I appreciate everybody coming out here this morning. My name is Lieutenant Brad Koch in the Office of the Chief. We have two speakers today. One is going to be Captain Christian Wagner, W-A-G-N-E-R, and another individual is Reverend Belton Platt, B-E-L-T-O-N. Last name is spelled P-L-A-T-T. We have two topics that we're going to talk about today. Our first, we're going to touch on motor vehicle thefts. And then our second one, we're going to be talking about our third installment of Bridging the Difference, which is tomorrow evening. As the Chief, Kurt Putney, spoke last Friday, spoke so eloquently about our overall crime for the last year, there were two areas where we had an increase. One was aggravated assault and another one was motor vehicle theft. We're here today to talk specifically about motor vehicle thefts. Last year we saw a 12% increase in overall motor vehicle thefts, with a little less than 2,800 vehicles taken within our jurisdiction. And we are really here to talk about this crime of opportunity. 11 of our 13 patrol divisions saw an increase in motor vehicle thefts, and the number one contributing factor for this is keys left inside unattended vehicles. Either the vehicles were unlocked or there was a hideaway key in the vehicle, and this accounted for a little more than 30% of all of our overall auto thefts. And we are currently in the South Division here off Pineville Matthews Road. This division saw the largest percentage increase in motor vehicle thefts. And to speak a little bit more about that, I have Captain Christian Wagner. Captain?
Good morning, everyone. So yes, the South Division had the largest increase in CMPD's jurisdiction. To put that a little bit into perspective, though, we still had the third lowest number of auto thefts for CMPD. 16 of those cases involved keys left in the ignition of the vehicle. So those are going to be cars that are left warming up in the morning, and we see that typically happen during our colder months. Citywide, the majority of the auto thefts are occurring at gas stations, and what you're going to see there is, again, people running into the store just for a few minutes, leave their car running, and so it's a crime of opportunity. People go in and just take the car. So for us in South Division, what we're seeing is the suspects are going into a neighborhood, a nice quiet neighborhood in the middle of the night, and they just calmly walk through, pulling on door handles, and if they find a car open, they'll take their time going through the car, looking for anything. Now, if they come upon keys, certainly they'll just take the whole car, drive to the next neighborhood, and continue with their spree. So our message has been the same all year long. Please take your keys in, take your property inside, lock your cars. And the one story that I have to share, which I thought was one of the doozies that we had in South Division last year, was a woman had her car, and she had left her keys in her center console, and she even had her husband's keys in her center console. A bad guy comes up, pulls on the door handle, the car is unlocked, goes in, takes time, finds two sets of keys in the console. They took both cars. So the husband had locked his car, but he woke up and his car wasn't there either. So just please, even if you don't think that or just go through your car, you might have forgotten that you have a spare set of keys in it, take all your keys out of your car. So CMPD is doing a lot of work to fight our auto thefts in areas where we see a lot of cars being stolen. Officers are sitting in the parking lots. They're doing their reports in those areas. We have some signs that we'll put out that say, lock your cars and take your property. And there's been some campaigns that have been very successful where we've partnered with gas stations. Gas stations will offer their customers a free cup of coffee if they show their keys to the clerk, which I think is phenomenal. So again, we can't solve these type of problems alone. We're doing everything that we can proactively to address these auto thefts. And but we need your help. We need the community to take some ownership, lock their doors, take in your stuff, particularly any kind of keys. And I'm just going to throw in there for good measure, firearms and other electronics. Take those inside, lock your cars. Don't leave your car running. As cold as it may have been this morning, and for many of us, we had to sit for a little while in a cold car. Don't leave your car sitting idle, warming up in the morning with the keys in it, because you may come back out and that car will be warm, but it'll be on the other side of town. So we are continuing to work hard on recovering stolen cars as well. Last year, we recovered 46% of the cars stolen in our jurisdiction. And our real-time crime center is doing a lot of great work where if a stolen car runs through one of our license plate readers, they're reaching out to the division and they're making sure that officers are looking for the car. So they'll even have a picture so they can give the officers a real-time description of what that car looks like, the direction it's going, and they'll follow it on other cameras to try to give the officers the best chance at trying to locate that car. So that being said, are there any questions regarding auto thefts? Yes, ma'am.
When you mentioned you guys have talked about this before, you've done several campaigns. Why do you think this keeps happening? Why is it not sinking into people's minds?
I think it's, everybody's very busy, constantly, focused on social media and work, their families and stuff, and it's an oversight, especially with cars that have the new ignitions that all you have to do is push the start button. You don't even have to handle a key. I think that's contributing to the problem, but it's certainly not the only factor. I mean, people seem to tend to leave their keys in their car for some reason. So as hard as it is for me to understand, it happens a lot.
And it's not that you guys are seeing a ring, right? There's no car theft ring. This is just folks meandering around.
So again, South Division is a very safe area, and people fall into complacency being in this safe area, and they just forget to lock their cars. So if you're a bad guy, you come down and you pull into a quiet neighborhood where there's no crime occurring, and it's too easy. People have that misconception when they hear auto theft. They think some bad guy's going to go and pop the steering column and take two wires and start it, because that's how they do it in the movies. That's a waste of time. I wouldn't waste my time hot wiring a car when I could just pull on door handles, find a set of keys, and take the car. Yes, ma'am.
You said 46% of cars stolen last year were recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
How often are suspects actually tracked down to those stolen cars, and what are the challenges of finding out who did it?
So the more time from an auto theft when it occurs to the time we recover it, I would say, and I'm just speculating to an extent, it's the harder it is to prove who stole it, because these cars can change hands. So it's really on us as quickly as possible after the car is stolen to go ahead and try to locate it. And what our detectives do is, as soon as we get one of those reports that come out, we send a picture of the car to all of our officers through our email so that they can be looking for it. Any kind of distinguishing factors like a bumper sticker or anything certainly helps us when we're looking for a stolen car.
You don't by any chance have the statistics in terms of how many of those cases actually resulted in an arrest?
No, ma'am.
And just to clarify, that 46%, that's just not South Division. That's across,
correct. That's citywide.
Across jurisdictions.
Yes.
Okay.
Chief Wagner, what are you telling? There have been a couple of car thefts at a couple of apartment complexes in South Division. Are you giving any advice to management of apartment complexes?
Absolutely. And again, I'm blessed down here in South Division that we have great relationships with our apartment complexes, our business owners, and our residents. We are constantly having lines of open communication with them. We're letting everybody know as soon as this happens, oh my goodness, this is happening. Please take your keys inside, lock your cars. And again, you may even hear of your neighbor and they'll say, yeah, my car was stolen. I'm here to tell you, most likely, they won't tell you this, but most likely the keys were left in the car.
All right. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. To follow up on your question about the overall arrest, we were able to clear 18% of all auto thefts by arrest, and the national average is 13%. So we are well ahead of that national average there. Any other questions about auto theft that we have before we get into our second part here?
18% last year?
Correct. 18% last year. All right, so our second part, I have the honor to introduce one of our panelists for our third installment of Bridging the Difference, which is tomorrow evening at the Halton Theater in Uptown Charlotte. Mr. Belton Platt, he's going to kind of tell you why he thinks it's so important to get involved in this, and then we will be able to take some questions on that. Doors open at 5 o'clock tomorrow. We have a host of vendors that are going to be there to provide information about city services, and then the event will kick off at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening at Halton Theater. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Reverend Belton Platt. Reverend.
Well, first of all, just to let you know, I was born and raised in the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. I grew up in a place called Dalton Village. And just to share a little bit about my life story, growing up, I had an alcoholic father, a father that did not care anything about us, beat my mother. At the age of 5, I saw my father. I stood in their bedroom door while my father stabbed my mother over 13 times, 15 times, attempting to murder her. At that age, it did something to me. As a 5-year-old boy, I was devastated because I wanted to help my mother, but it was my father trying to murder her. So I was there watching that, and something happened to me. On the inside of me, I was hurt. But I said within myself, I couldn't wait for the day when I got old enough to blow my father's brain out. And because of that, I was angry, I was hurt, I was wounded and bruised, and so it affected me in every area of my life. When I went to school, I had a bad temper. When I would be in different places, people would not understand why I was acting the way I was acting. But I was hurt, I was wounded, I was bruised. And many kids today, they are born into environments. They are born in places where they have no choice, and they are taught crime. They are taught to be angry. They're taught to be violent. And so I grew up in that type of environment. At a young age, around 17, 18, my dad, the one who tried to murder my mother, he taught me how to sell drugs. He told me to give him $150. He took me down to an apartment in Piedmont Court. He showed me how to cut drugs, showed me how to do this. Now, you're talking about a kid that had hopes to be a lawyer one day. A kid that was a Life Scout, 3 merit badges from being an Eagle Scout. My father took me in that place, and I'm not blaming him. I made the decision to do that. But he took me down in that place. I had no mentors, nobody telling me right. All I knew was what I saw every day when I walked out my apartment growing up. So it was already embedded in me to confusion and all of this about life. So when he told me that, he was my dad. So long story short, he bagged up the drugs and he said, you sell this for $10, you sell this for $25. I've never in my life drank, I never in my life used cocaine, smoked cigarette, did anything. I took that and I said, no one is going to pay $10 for that. Nobody paid $25 for that little bit of stuff. And my dad said to me, he said, they'll buy it. So he gave me a little plastic bag with some drugs in it. And he said, now go and sell this. I went to my older brother. I said, do you know what this is? He said, yeah, it's cocaine. He took the bag and started selling it. I'm saying long story short again, but I got into the drug business. I became one of the biggest drug dealers in Charlotte, North Carolina. 1985, I was involved in a shootout in Piedmont Court. 7 people were shot. I was given 35 years stayed. 2 years after that, my case was overturned. 2 years after that, I got indicted by the FBI, went to federal court downtown Charlotte, and I was given 24 years in prison. Well, at that time, I began to think about my life. I began to think about my family, my daughters, my children, that I had failed. And I said to myself, I'm not going to be a failure anymore. So when I got to prison, there were opportunities. I had access to college. I had access to rehabilitation programs. I had access to all of those things. And my pastor, Dr. Andrew Lockhart, he said to me, he said, Belton, while you are there, you take advantage of every opportunity you have. And so I began to register in college, register in school, register in program, and these things begin to shape and form my life. When I was invited to be on this panel, I thought it was a great opportunity to share my story and to tell Charlotte, these young people, it doesn't matter where you start or what you've been through. Take advantage of the opportunities that are afforded you in the College of Central Piedmont Community College and other colleges and other things. So this program tomorrow night, I want to invite everyone out. Please come. I am the subject of this book, Money Rock. A lot of people have brought it in the city of Charlotte, and I am the one that they're talking about, praise God, in this book. So I want to encourage everyone, get involved. Charlotte Police Department, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for providing opportunities for young people, adults as well, to change their lives. Anyone can change. Anyone could make a difference if we just decide to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. So they're going to share some things tomorrow where you will be able to gain knowledge of how, to better your lives, to take advantage of the opportunities that's here in the city of Charlotte. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Reverend Platt? All right. Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate that. Like I said, tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock, doors open. We kick off at 6. Anybody is welcome. We have over 350 people that have RSVP'd. Again, this is our third installment of Bridging the Difference, a kickoff in front of the Republican National Convention at the end of 2020. So, do we have any questions for me about any other topics that we have not discussed? All right. I appreciate everybody. We do, Reverend Platt as well as Captain Wagner will be available after this for any further questions that you guys might have individually with them. So appreciate everybody coming today on this cool morning. We will see you next time. Have a great day.